Hey everybody, this is going to be a really quick video. I just want to show an interesting new workflow that you can do in 3D Coat. And again, from what I've seen, I don't know that you can do this in any other application really. Over the last couple of years, the developers have been creating these curves tools, and I think they're going to be featured more in the next version of 3D Coat, but right now we do have some fairly robust functionality. So there's a whole bunch of like operations we can do, really interesting ones here with the sweeping and things like that. But I'll just quickly show you what I kind of was playing around with the other day. So let's go to orthographic front view here, and then what I'm going to do, we can basically plot out kind of like these points. This might not seem like super obvious what I'm doing here, but I'm basically just trying to create a simple kind of facial like structure out of these points, and then afterwards I'll kind of join things back up together. I don't think that this has been designed to work in the way that I'm using this right now, but it is still very powerful kind of workflow. So it's not super obvious what I'm doing yet, but hopefully it'll become clear shortly. So I'm making a series of different curves right now. I'm just using the line mode on the curve tool here, and to switch to this, all I have to do is basically switch my E panel mode into this spline. Okay, and this allows me to create these curve points. And let's just continue on here. This is maybe more points than I might have initially intended. So again, it's not super clear what this is all going to be yet, but hopefully it will become apparent shortly. So what I would like to do is not have to necessarily, you'll see in a moment, make these points all separately. I'd rather be able to do it all in kind of one go. And actually this is probably a little too simple what I'm doing here. Let's break this up a little bit further. So this would be, for example, the lip. And all right, what I don't have here, I don't have the rest of the, this I wanted to get an eye structure going as well. So I don't want to go too long with this. This is a demonstration more than anything. So let me start hooking this up, so making this functional. So I'm going to select my point select tool, and then basically what I can do is initially I'll just select. Oh, I can't do that. So I have to shift select different curves here. I can do certain things like join. So I have a hotkey for this. Well, basically what I'm doing is using this option here, link several points together. So I've set a hotkey for this, J, and that didn't keep. So I'll have to actually reset that. So I'm going to hit end here, and press J, and then the other one I want to do is, yeah, that should be good for now. So I can select these 2 points, and press J, like so. J and J. Alright, so I kind of want to do the same thing here with some of these guys. Just select a whole bunch together. Just make this go a little faster. I suppose I could also select it here in my curves menu. I could just basically go like this. Select the first, shift select the last one, they'll all be selected. And now once I have this, I can basically go in and I can join these points together, like so. So this is the part that I wish was a little faster, so I didn't necessarily have to join these. If there was a way to already make kind of connected patches like this that share certain points, that would make this a lot faster. But this is pretty fast regardless. So here I'll make a new point on here. Just can double click on a line to create a new point. And I'll do that like so. I have to reselect these. These points, they can have different kind of curve types. So to get them all straight, I want to kind of like just change that. So I set a hotkey for this. This one did stay. So that's the hotkey I use is A. So let's make sure that these are both getting the same kind of treatment. Oops. Join these, join these, join these four, these four, these four, these four. So I was doing some tests like prior to this, and I wasn't really getting the results that I had wanted, and that was because I was trying to do all this within the same curve. But it works a lot better if I use multiple curves. But you can, there's like a workaround way where you can kind of start hooking things up within the same curve, but it's just not quite as robust. Oops. Alright, so we've got this. Okay, so basic framework. Now I could, and I should, add a point here, add a point here, right? And just join these guys up, these guys up, and these. I'll change this here to be all kind of flat. Join these, and these, and again I will select this point and make it flat. And then hopefully you can kind of see how I might continue with this, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each of these curves, just select all of them, and I'll right click over and I'll go fill with mesh layer, and you'll see it'll give me a skin for each of these curves. And then now I can basically select points like so. So let's figure where we want the front of our nose to be, like this, and I can basically, whoops, select these and pull them forward like so, right? So I can start mapping out the basic structure of my design, my character or whatever. And you see how like dynamic this is, right? It's really non-destructive. And I can easily start tweaking where these points will be. Let's do this in perspective mode. And this one was designed to be kind of like more the side plane of the head, like so. These will be more sunken in, like this. Okay, so there's some limitations here currently, right? Like there's some things that it's still hard for me to do, but just as a foundation, I think there's a lot of like a lot to be excited about here, especially once you add in the fact that I can take some of these points instead of rendering them as sharp. So let me quickly change my shader as well. Let's set this to visible. Turn on my cast shadows so we can kind of get a better sense of what we're actually looking at here. And I realized I did this wrong, so I actually wanted this to be coming out more. Same with this. So I want to get like more of a kind of cavity underneath that eye. And again, I can double click on any point and basically add more to it. Okay, so you can see how I might start fleshing this out. So what I would love to be able to do at this point is kind of subdivide a patch. So cut from here to here and break this up into two separate planes so I could get a sharper ridge. Right now I have no way of controlling what the interpolation is. Or I'd like to be able to select a point or create a point in the center of a face or of a patch like this and poke it out like with some kind of maybe arbitrary fall off type, right? So I could make it a sharp fall off or a smooth fall off or whatever, which would give me even more control over this. So the kind of downside right now is just that once you've committed to these patches, you're kind of stuck with it. If I wanted to further define the side plane of the nose here, I'd like to be able to cut in with a new patch to kind of get that side plane of the nose and all that. So one cool thing we can do as well, I can double click on a point like this to create a new point, and you'll see that it's giving me points on both sides, but each one is not automatically merged. So so that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, depending on how you want to kind of work with this. But then you can also go back in and re-merge these points. Okay, but now it's a curved spline, like so. So this is really interesting. Let's join these. Definitely something I will incorporate into my workflow in some way or another. And at some point I would like to make like it's just like a kind of demo video of me making a character using some of these tools. Beyond that, so yeah, what I could also do here, and I did this in my previous demonstration, I could like make a little nostril slice here. Or I could add a point. Oops, looks like I added a point already. Yeah, so if I had these, I could add a new point here and get this to come like this. Make each of these sharp and then join them. Alright, so I can kind of get my no shape here. I could get this and this, do the same thing, make each of them sharp, and then join them. Alright, so you see I get this nice little kind of cavity here for the nostril, or something, right? So this is just really kind of like the kind of demonstration purposes more than anything, but you can imagine how much kind of power this gives you, and how much flexibility. So like, look at that, that's quite amazing to me. So I can cut another point here and here, right? And I will have to kind of join these, and same on the other side. So getting the hotkeys down like makes this workflow a little faster. Oops, I accidentally deleted that. And it's actually quite stable. What's going on here? Select these, join them, and this. Okay, so you can kind of see how flexible this is. So there's no mirroring, so I can't do mirror mode or anything like that. But in general, this is quite impressive. Okay, and I can, thinking like, for me, like my preference is to do like more stylized kind of characters, and so basically this kind of suits my workflow a lot. So we can hide all our curves as well. Okay, we'll see kind of what the patches we're left with. So again, a bit of a problem here, but I could probably find a way to kind of work backwards and reconstruct or deconstruct that particular area. But overall, I think this is super promising. I have different options here for my paths. And another neat thing, just to be aware of, is that they've already built in this functionality where you can turn any path. Okay, let's find a big path one. Oh, I wonder if I can hover over, and yes, I can use the H key also. That actually works. That's great. So I can hit H here to go straight to this path, and I can. You'll see when I click on it, I have these options here. So I can create a retopo quad patch, and that'll basically, boom, bring me right into the retopo room with a patch of quads. So I don't have a ton of control over the topology, but the fact that it will do this for me is really neat. It'd be neat also if we had like a batch functionality whereby I could kind of just do this quickly for a whole bunch of faces all at once. So let's just see what this one will look like. So again, nice patch of quads. It's not, you know, greatest topology, but not too bad. I've also found that when we have a kind of Bezier or a curved spline, we get an edge loop, but when we have a corner, we get something like that, or like that. Oh no, so I guess depends. Maybe it depends on the angle, but yeah, I don't know exactly how the algorithm is working, but overall, again, really cool stuff, like very innovative. Again, I don't think that this was the intention behind this, but for me, like as a person who wants to make quick stylized sculpt, this is a really good solid foundation, and it would make a lot of sense for me to kind of go in at some point and just build out a patch-based framework, you know, so I could just identify each of the planes of the face, so that anytime I need to make a character, I could easily come back to it and build off of that. All right, so I'm just going to do this and this. Join these. Why is this not working? This and this. Interesting. Sharpen them. I lost the hotkey again. So it's not. Okay, so I think that's a bug or something. I don't know. I have no idea why that's happening. But okay, so we have this, and we'll just add a new point here. Right, you see I can easily cut in now to this form. Okay, so yeah, this is a very, very unique workflow. I'd be surprised if you could do something like this in ZBrush or even Blender. I imagine maybe in Maya or something that has more like sophisticated NURBS tools. But even I think in like Moi or whatever, not that I've used them that much, and let me just stop talking before I say something that's not true. But I think what's the beauty here, the advantage of this, is that it gives you this ability to kind of create something that you can then sculpt right directly on top of it, right? So one of the reasons I like 3D Coat so much is that it offers such a kind of creative workflow, and it's really kind of the sky's the limit in terms of how you approach things, and it does kind of give the artist this kind of smorgasbord of like unique tools that you can kind of just decide how you want to work with them. So this is a lot of the reason for me doing this video, truthfully, is potentially to showcase what I see as potential of a new workflow. And I hope that this resonates for the development team at Pilgway to make better tools, for us artists and designers. So I have a problem here. Like I kind of would like to switch some of this stuff up, but it's hard for me to do. So I'd like to be able to kind of subdivide or kind of find some way to better kind of tweak existing areas, right? So I don't want to have to be married to this idea. So I really kind of would benefit from the ability to kind of chop this into two separate patches. And I imagine the tools are there, and maybe this is just me kind of just the beginning of me figuring out this workflow, but I encourage other people to try to do something like this, and I'd love to see what other people are able to come up with. I imagine this could be really powerful for automotive design or any kind of like industrial design or anything like that. So so I'm curious to see what people from other industries might find. One thing I would also love to see is the ability to deform a voxel based mesh with these patches, right? So right now basically I am so when I double click here, I'd like to have the option of maybe it automatically keeps the two pieces glued together instead of just making those two new points. And then I can, once they are pinned together, there's a lot of things I can do. Like I can set this to a sharp point, and if it's a sharp point, then I can kind of poke it out and things like that. And like I said, this is very, very stable as long as I use separate patches. If I try to do this within the same patch, I will run into some problems. So let's create a new point here. Let's see if I can't make the patch like this. So again, for whatever reason, I lost my hotkey. Just like this. Okay, and let's select this mesh here and just fill it with a mesh layer. So there's all kinds of other things we can do with these curves. I don't know how much we can stack different modifiers. So this yeah, and speaks to the fact that I still need to investigate this workflow more in depth. Got to figure out how I would approach doing the eyes. This is the first time I've tried doing eyes this way, but it is really neat stuff. Let me just hide this quickly. And if I come over here, I'll see that this is kind of what I get. Let's dial down our opacity or our intensity on our light. Let's change the angles. Alright, so you can see, like, for like something kind of very sculptural and stylized, this is quite powerful, but you know, it's kind of highly dependent on where I've kind of put my edges. So the edges give us a lot of control, but you see there's like always a valley coming down off the edges. It would be neat to be able to define, you know, what this kind of fall off looks like, what the profile curve on that fall off is. Maybe per curve, I don't know. So again, hopefully this provides some thought-provoking ideas, you know, to the developers or to other artists to think about. Oh, I could this would be useful for this, or you know, I could use this for this purpose, or whatever. Let's get the chin going here. I made sure I had some geometry for that. So yeah, this is all right now in 3D Coat. It's like a hidden kind of like treasure trove of different tools. If I have more time in the future, I'll also kind of like break down some of the other functionality that I was looking at with the other curve tools. So there's a lot of other cool tools that we can work with too. Oh yeah, so one other thing that I would love to see for the developers, it would be great to extrude a point. So to select a point, extrude, and cap it off. So just like in Blender, the way you can kind of do that, or just basically work with these the way I would work with polygons. So select the face, inset it, right, which would make another patch or another, depending on, like if I have a quad or a four-sided patch here and I inset it, I would get an additional 5 patches, right? So one here, one here, one here, one in the middle, and then one here down at the bottom. So that kind of stuff would be great to see, or to be able to kind of connect from here to here, and that results in 2 new patches, or dividing this one patch into 2 separate patches, right? So that kind of thing I think would be really, really kind of valuable. And then some way to kind of speak to what kind of transition do we have from one patch to another. Is it always going to be this like kind of concave kind of fall off? Can I control? Can I bulge this out instead, right? So I have like a belly instead of a cavity kind of thing. So yeah, all that kind of stuff is what I would be curious to see. But so far, really, really cool, really interesting stuff. And we can reuse a lot of these patches for other things, and I'll just show one other thing that we can do. We can change like the thickness of these patches, as you can see here, right? So that might be useful in a certain situation. Set this back down to 1. Actually, let's make it thick again. So if I'm doing armor or something like that, this would also be useful. And we also have the option actually of snapping this to an object. So I deliberately do not have a voxel object underneath right now, but this stuff could snap onto and conform, sorry, to the surface of something else. So if I'm doing like armor or something like that, this would be really valuable for that. And another thing that I would love to see is the ability to take something like this and turn it into a contiguous mesh, right? So right now it's a series of separate patches, but I would like the ability to kind of turn this into one solid piece. There are some ways I could potentially do that using surface mode, which I will kind of continue experiment and try out. But I just want to show you with this thickened patch here. What we can do is we can change the edge shape, so we can make that round like so, right? And then even more, we can actually create a custom shape, right? So I can make this like an interesting kind of ridge shape, or if I want to have like a cavity in the middle, you can see we can create that as well. So a lot of kind of like interesting possibilities exist here. Again, I can right click on these points to change the fall off type, but yeah, that is that's where this currently is, and really interested in kind of just exploring what more I can do as is, and then B, seeing how much more functionality we can get from this as things move forward. So one thing I'll do before I continue on, I'm just going to go into this layer. So this layer I have right now at the top of my sculpt tree is empty, and I'm going to I can leave it in voxel mode. I imagine that all of these faces are too thin to fully kind of work. So if I merge visible, if I go in here and I go to merge visible, and I hold Alt and just click on this layer, actually I can still see it. So let's hide our curves. So we do get like we get this kind of form here. I'd probably have to go in here after and do an extrusion just to get some more thickness on this. Let's resample. Okay, and let's do a smooth all. Let's get rid of some of those artifacts. This might be too much. So not super happy with the artifacts and everything like that. But at this point, I can now go ahead and I can sculpt on this. Let's change our. Oops. Yeah, let's change our settings here. So you see, I can go ahead and continue the sculpt at this point. But because it is such a thin surface, you see, I can easily kind of poke through and break it. Let's hide that. So let's bring everything back. Let's hide that layer, make a new one. Set this to surface mode. Okay, and this one we will merge visible as well. Okay, and this should give us a more kind of accurate result, as you can see here. But the problem is with this, these faces are not kind of connected. So one other thing I could potentially do is kind of convert everything to patches, right? So create a quad retopo patch, bring everything into the retopo room, and then go to my import tool down here, and I could re-import that back into the sculpt room as a retopo mesh, and that probably would give me the most kind of control. But yeah, so I get some kind of weird stuff happening here. I don't know exactly why, but yeah. Anyway, so this is kind of that new workflow, and yeah. So now this is a mesh that I could sculpt on. Oops. Let's go in here to rapid smooth. Okay, so you see how it's not totally merged together. So this would be cool if I wanted to get some kind of like effects of like something tearing apart. I could use that for that, but that's not what I'm going for here. So yeah, a way to kind of join all this stuff up together would be ideal. But I can use my pinch tool in certain spots to kind of get the form, you know, going a little differently. But yeah, I would like to be able to smooth. So I will try that one last method. So let's hide this also. Hide that. Let's make a new layer here, which we'll use in a moment. And we might have to go through each of these separately, but let's try something. If we shift select all of these, and if we go to create retopo quad patch, yeah, so it only gives us one at a time, unfortunately. Okay, so I'd basically have to go here to Sculpt and do these one at a time. So basically go select this one, create retopo quad patch. So you can see how this would be a, set this back to flat, a bit of a process, right? Unless we had a batch kind of functionality, because you see I have to go back and forth through these two rooms to keep doing this. Create retopo quad patch. So what I could maybe try doing is assigning a hotkey. Let's set Control A, just because I can't think of anything quicker right now. But then hopefully I can kind of, yeah, so I can actually, if I set a hotkey, I can basically do all this in the retopo room. Just move to the next one, just keep pressing my hotkey. So one thing about 3D Coat, it doesn't give you a lot of like hotkeys by default, but if you are willing to kind of go in and add them yourselves, it really can speed up your workflow. I imagine this could easily become a script, and I've been meaning to learn how to script for this, but it hasn't happened yet. So I'm noticing some of these are coming out right, but some are not. So like this one definitely didn't know what to do. But other than that, like we have this. So I have all these retopo objects. I don't know if I can select multiple here. So they are on separate layers. So if I bring this in, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd like to join them. So I don't know how easy that's going to be, but I'd like to join everything onto the same layer. Is there a hotkey for this? So again, using a hotkey would speed this up, but it, assuming I could use this topology, you know, to go into like a base mesh modeling application and building things out further. So I'm just holding down the shift key here, by the way, while I'm doing this, to add to my selection. And one of them is flipped backwards. One set of faces is flipped backwards. So I don't know if there's a way to kind of flip the normals on something here in Retopo tab, maybe, but if you do know, just let me know in the comments. But yeah, so here we have this, and I want to add them all to the one face. So I have this option here, move selected faces to the current layer. So now everything will exist on this one layer. Okay. So this set of faces I would want to flip, but you see they're on the other side. But other than that, I'm going to check to see that I can select these faces. I want to see if there's an auto weld or weld close So some of these things I've never really kind of played around with, but maybe I have to be in vertex selection mode. Let me go to my vertices up here and then see what my selected options are. Snap, connect, transform. Well, that's my UVs. Select these vertices. Yeah, and I don't see an option here to merge or auto weld. And it's not that it doesn't exist, I might not know how to do it. Alright, so anyways, what we could do now is I mean, what we'd have to do is to manually kind of connect this stuff up. Right. So you see once they're linked, they're kind of, they change the same color. So ideally, I guess I would have to do this for every last little patch. And so again, going back to, I guess the functionality, if this could all exist, all these sub patches could exist within one patch, and I could just kind of remesh or that one patch, and it would take each of these separate polygon faces and then link them together. I recognize that would be more complex and harder to do, but that would be for the user a little bit more workable, a little easier for them to kind of deal with that. Of course, I could always just kind of do my own custom retopo on this as well. But anyways, so now that I'm back here, I can make this the only visible layer. I could go to import, pick from retopo, and you will see that we have this guy here. And then I can go ahead and hit, I can either import with voxelization, or I can, yeah, so I can just, I'm importing onto a surface layer anyway, so it's not going to voxelize it. So I don't, oh, I used the bend by accident. So yeah, so now you'll see I have this. I don't know why the color is like that. I don't know if the normals are backwards. But anyway, so this is where I've ended up, and let's change our shader. So it looks like unfortunately the normals are inside out. So I don't know exactly why that happened, but yeah, if I were to change over to a yeah, and so this is where I'm kind of like in a tricky spot. So I could bring this into a voxel layer instead. Let's see. So if I import here, and import with thickness. So maybe this will work if I do this as surface mode too. So that's actually worth trying. Let me try this on surface mode, import with thickness. Yeah. And if I go ahead and hit apply. Okay, so it kind of worked, but you'll see I just get these kind of like different clear patches to the form. But I imagine if I were to remesh this at this point, it should kind of do its best to blend things together, which it has. So at this point, hopefully, if if I smooth, yeah. So now if I smooth this out, I do get rid of these artifacts. Okay, so that is a bit of a roundabout way to kind of get to where we wanted. There are other kind of options we could use, but that is it's kind of where I ended up. So, anyways, once again, hopefully this is interesting. Maybe you can kind of see some applications in your own workflow, and I'd be curious to see what you guys come up with. Okay, all right, take care.